right, welcome to another episode of Real Freedom. And today we've got Erik Hatch on, and Erik is a entrepreneur extraordinaire. He has 20 businesses, just doing a lot of really great things in real estate. So we've got Hatch Real Estate, his brokerage that he has in North Dakota, Hatch Coaching. He's an author. He also does a lot of investing in real estate as well, and has a background in youth ministry. So just an all-around great guy. Building businesses, building people, and just changing lives through that. So welcome, Erik. We're so excited to have you.
Buddy. Good to be here. I'll tell you, I have an old youth group kid named Mike Swenson, so it is going to just mess with my head a little bit here. You have way better hair than him, so we're off to a good start.
Thanks. Yeah. So Erik, do you want to just to kind of start us off here, give us a little bit about your background, kind of before real estate, leading up into real estate, and let's maybe just kind of talk about those first couple of years and how you got some of those seeds planted to what you're building today.
Absolutely. So I reside in Fargo, North Dakota, lived here my whole life. In fact, every time I've tried to run from here, God has pulled me back and said, I'm not done with you yet. And now I am thrilled that I get to live here, except for these cold winter days. I love this place. As I've done, if I look at my life, my career, and everything else, I recognize I was an entrepreneur early on, from the lemonade stands on my street corner to selling everything just to try to make an extra buck. I then pursued, I went into food service right away. So I was at the age of 14 and 15 years old, I was waiting tables at a restaurant because I love the idea that the harder I worked and the more suave and connected I was at building relationships, the more I would make. The idea of a salary was repulsive to me. If I could have lived on tips for my entire life, I would have. Included in that, I was that kid in school that was like the club geek, the nerd who I was our class president, and I was volunteering for everything because I loved the social connection of being with people. And then I got to build things in those organizations. It was unbelievable, the opportunities that were afforded to me in high school and college by building things within my own ecosystem. I went to NDSU, North Dakota State University in Fargo, and had an amazing experience. Yes, the classroom was good, but it was the extracurriculars that I got to do that was really special. I joined a fraternity, which I never thought I would do. In fact, I mocked and made fun of people that were Greek. And then I joined, and we turned a place that was doing really poorly, and we turned it into an amazingly healthy organization by the time I left. And I was just one of the many people that had their fingerprints on that. But I recognized what it meant to build something and to create something. And as I graduated from college, my dad had never been in the picture, abandoned our family when I was 2, and my mom passed away when I was 21 in college. And my church had put me under their wing and just really took me in. I was so grateful for that. And so orphaned at 21, and I'm this entrepreneur and no idea what to do with life. The church really said, like, hey man, you can build, you can fulfill this passion, and we'll give you a very meager salary to do it. And so jumped into ministry and loved it. But I was flat broke, Mike. Like, I had no money whatsoever. And so halfway through my professional ministry career, I got my real estate license. And here's how everybody wants to know, like, what's that story of how did you get into real estate? I was broke, and a buddy of mine named Jason was like, hey, he was a realtor, and he's like, hey, Erik, you're good with people. You should sell houses. And I'm like, okay. He was a modern day prophet for me by simply saying, like, you'd be good at this, give it a run. And so I got into real estate, and my first year, I sold 0 houses. Oh yeah.
Well done.
Major success. That was 2006. 2007, I sold 10 houses. In 2008, I sold 12. In 2009, I sold 20. In 2010, I sold 24. And this was all as a part-time agent. And all of a sudden, I was like, whoa, I'm making some serious money. More so than I was in my ministry career. But I loved ministry. I didn't want to leave it. Well, at that time, my wife and I were battling major infertility, trying desperately to become parents. We miscarried a number of times. We went the medical route of IUI and IVF, and it was a big old pain and an emotional drain. And we ran out of insurance. It didn't cover it anymore. And so the only way I could become a father is if I financed it. And so sure enough, I got into real estate full time in January of 2011. 10 years ago, almost to the day, I got into real estate full time. The thing that matters more than my real estate career is the fact that we have two kids at home now, Simon and Finley. Finley's 6, Simon's 4. She's a princess and he's a dinosaur. It's the greatest thing that I get to have. And we can talk about money and we can talk about success all we want, but my greatest success happens at home. Now, in the last 10 years, I went from getting into real estate. My first year full time, I sold 52 houses, and that was without buying any business or leads. It was all from my own sphere of influence. And then I built a team, and then I got kicked out of a brokerage that I was at. Then I went to a really bad rebound girlfriend brokerage and lost so much money, I almost had to file for bankruptcy. And then in January 2014, I opened up Hatch Realty. We've been open now 7 years, and we are a teamerage where we function only as our team. We're one of the top selling real estate teams in the country, even out of Fargo, North Dakota. We sold 868 homes in the last year for just over $6 million in GCI and just over $200 million in volume. And we're doing that out of Fargo, North Dakota, which is pretty awesome. And so through all that, Mike, back in 2012 is when I really started investing. And I'm sure we'll get into the details, but I'll share with you 10 years ago to today, my net worth has increased, and I did the math, has increased 4,000% in 10 years. And that's been an intentional strategic move. I still think that my greatest worth is as a leader, not as an investor, investing my energy and time into people, because that's going to give me the greatest output. And so I do so with my family and I do so with my team. That's a long nutshell.
Yeah, no, that's great. Talk me through a little bit then, the back end side. So you as an entrepreneur, looking at, I'm just curious, like as you thought about starting your own brokerage, as you thought about getting into investing, how much of that was intentional with your plan versus how much it was like the one step led to the next step, which led to the next step. And all of a sudden you look up and you're like, oh shoot, I'm an investor now, I guess, so I'm just curious, like, how did you get the ball rolling on that?
That's a really good question. I am an accidental entrepreneur. Okay. It was simply because I was broke and somebody believed in me that I got into real estate in the first place. I look at kids going to college now and they're doing these business courses and they can major in entrepreneurialism. Like, I didn't even know what that word was, let alone how to spell it until like my mid-20s.
That's actually what I majored in.
Really?
It was entrepreneurship. Yeah. Back in, I graduated 2004.
Look at you living that out, man. I'm 2 years older than you, but you are many years wiser than I am to get that kind of.
Well, the difference for me though was I understood what I should do. I wasn't willing to take the risk. And so that was always my holdup was I had the head knowledge of what I needed to do for entrepreneurship, but I could never commit to jump in because I was raised, have a stable job with benefits, consistent paycheck, and that's how you earn your life. And so it took me a long time to be okay with jumping in both feet with taking the risk. So that was kind of the holdup for me of why I didn't start my team till recently. Yeah,
it's proof that I was a scaredy cat, just like you, because it took me a long time to really. And I didn't ever want to leave the ministry. But financially, like emotionally, I was tied to the ministry, but financially, it was not what I needed to support my family. And so I had 2 jobs. Even when I went full time into real estate in 2011, I still got a job on NDSU's campus as a minister for 15 hours a week because I just needed to make sure I was going to be okay. So I didn't have these big guts, these brass cojones. Like I didn't have that, Mike. I was always scared of failing. And then I remember midway through 2011, I'm like, okay, I think I can make it as a realtor, but I really am just drowning in all this extra work. So I hired an admin for $10 an hour, and she was going to work with me 20 hours a week. And I thought, how $200 a week? How in the world am I going to pay for that? Now my monthly expenditure budget is $200,000 a month for running my team. I mean, I have just saying that feels so uncomfortable, it's so exciting, but I see what God has done through me and with me, and it's pretty amazing. And so to your aforementioned question, Mike, I never took big swings right away. I always dipped my toe in. I was a part-time realtor. And then I hired somebody to be a part-time assistant. And then my first house I bought was 2012. It was a foreclosed property.
Mm-hmm.
I now own about 60 doors myself and then some partners, but I'm solo on probably a third of them. That
Mm-hmm.
first house, I'm like, okay, I had 30 grand to put down. I had a 30% to put down, but I was afraid to do it on my own. I wanted to mitigate the risk. What if? That's all that ran through my mind was just
Mm-hmm.
and then of course my wife, who is super gun shy on being any sort of risk taker. Like I'm a gambler by nature. Like in fact, I have a gambling addiction. I've been clean from playing cards since 2008, but I used to be a professional gambler. Like I was making great money playing professionally, but the addiction took over and I had to get rid of it.
As you are a youth pastor,
Yeah.
professional gambler
Uh-huh.
and youth pastor.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a hot mess, buddy.
I love
And
it.
I'm fueled to try to like blackjack for me was irresponsible gambling, but poker was a skill game because I was reading the
Mm-hmm.
situations and the energy and the cards that you're dealt to try to figure out where's that opportunity. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
doing that today, but at very much higher stakes. I'm
Mm-hmm.
doing it with people's careers. I'm doing it with hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars with investments. And
Mm-hmm.
it's pretty wild. It's
Yeah.
pretty wild, the gambling that I do regularly. But when I bought my first investment property, I only wanted to put down a third of the money, and I had two other partners. Now I can share the math of, you put it on a 15-year mortgage, and the property should come close to doubling every 20 years, and so it made financial sense to even put 10 grand in. But
Mm-hmm.
I was always gun shy, Mike. I was
Mm-hmm.
always scared to jump in just the same way I wish you were, because I was willing to bet on other things, but betting on myself, I didn't feel like I was a proven commodity yet.
And I find that that's the case with so many people, especially realtors, that have said, I've always thought about investing. I've wanted to get investing. They just need to do it. Like you just need to I say you can't get to your 10th property until you get to your first.
Yeah.
And you got to find a way to just get the first one under your belt. And even if it doesn't net you money, it's going to net you knowledge. And you can then apply that knowledge to the next one, to the next one, to the next one. But I think that's what holds people back is at some point you gotta take the step. You gotta let go of where you were and grab onto where you're going. And for you that turns into 60 doors, but you had to get that first one and take that little risk right away.
Yeah, that's a great analogy, and I'll tell you, I didn't have the confidence in what I was doing early on. This now, whether it's investing or running my team, it is as predictable as the day is long. The only thing that I can't predict is the weather. The weather can be COVID. The weather can be dried up inventory right now. The weather could be a hot buyers or sellers market. I can't predict that. I mean, I can watch trends, and the things that happen on the coast usually hit us secondarily here in the Midwest. But everything else, I feel like I'm in control of. And I've taken what felt unpredictable and it feels predictable now. And for me, I feel like I'm not gambling as much because it's a proven entity. Like, and yeah, I can lose on one or two of my investment properties. Like they can sit vacant for 6 months and they have to go under a whole lot of repairs, and you have bad tenants. And then the seasonality of our market says it's not going to get rented out. But because I'm playing a larger game and a larger strategy with that many doors, it now doesn't feel like a blow. Sometimes when you have one, you're all in and all out. When you have 10, you make more sensible decisions. You make healthier moves when the more that you add to the mix.
Yeah, because it's diversification, right? It's not all up, all down. It's balanced out. So let's talk a little bit about the investment growing then. How did you the business partners that you had, were these friends and family, were these other agents? How did that then turn from where you're at into 60 or where you were into 60?
Well, I said 60. I think it might be at 56 now because I sold like 4 in the last year. And in fact, I'm not trying to buy rental properties anymore. I'm flipping them all. And because I'm making more money flipping and than I am with my long-term investments. Now, I think that the first move that anybody listening or watching should do is to get some rental properties. It is the most alluring thing. I partnered with one buddy who is a doctor and one buddy who is a high school friend who works in the medical field also. And so we got after it and we started investing. I was the only person with real estate knowledge. And so we were still a third partners. I got commissions on the deals that we did. And that was the reason why it was advantageous for me to kind of drive the ship. But they're both silent partners. They're not at the table trying to make decisions. I have some other partnerships that are 50-50, and I have the smallest share I have in something is 33.33%. Otherwise, I'm 50-50 or more. And so I started getting after it, and I don't invest with family. Dude, I'm like proud to be trailer trash. My family doesn't have the money to invest. I've been able to change my stars, which has been great, but it's been all on my own accord. And I don't like the strategy of taking money out. Some people with their properties, they'll constantly refi. There's of course the Burr method to continue to rehab and refinance and repeat. And I'm not interested in constantly doing that. I want to find something that's a good deal and just hang on to it, because that's my kids' savings account for college. I don't have a savings account for them. I'm not planning on that. I'm just buying more houses. And so that's been really advantageous to me. So the math that's really simple is that a home, according to the federal government, should appreciate 4.22% annually. That means that with compounding interest, about every 20 to 25 years, that home should double in value. I just need a lot of houses. And so that'll double in value. And I know I can put down 20 to 30% on a property. And then that property should make me, the numbers I abide by is I should profit a minimum of $400 a month on that property. This is single family I'm speaking. I do own some multiplexes and stuff too, but in single family, I want to make a minimum of $400 a month in order for my numbers to work out. A furnace goes out or it says vacant for 6 months and that money is totally gone for a year or two. But I wanted to make sure that I was paying down my mortgage always on a 15-year note. I have a couple of that I put on 20-year notes because I couldn't get the numbers to work to make my $400 a month. But otherwise, I have stuck to that strategy, and I've been doing it now for 9 years. And so I have a number of properties that have like $30,000 or $40,000 left on them. I have over, what was an original $10,000 or $20,000 or $30,000 investment. I now have $100,000 sitting in there. And I love that method. So I have 3 methods I do, Mike. The first is the rentals, and that was my first foundational piece.
We're taking a brief pause from our episode. We'll get back to you in a second. This is Mike Swenson. Are you looking to get more out of your real estate career? Are you looking for tools and systems and ways to build wealth so that you can have the financial freedom that you desire? I have a vision to create 20 millionaires over the next 20 years, and I want to do that for you. If you're interested in learning more about that program and how I can help you, reach out to me at mike@realfreedom.com. That's MIKE@RELFREEDOM.com. Thanks.
I have added 2 new arms in the last 2.5 years that have proven to be more financially lucrative. These are more of a gamble. And so I want to go back to hedging your bets, doing the thing that's the predictable money. And I think that a good investment property is predictable money. You should do that first. The next 2 steps that I've done, and it's come almost at the same time, however, it's 2 different paths. One is the short-term vacation rental, Airbnb or VRBO. There's very, very big money in that when you do it right. And the other is fix and flip. And so we unveiled a strategy called Snap Offers. It's essentially my iBuyer movement, where I'm a wholesale buyer. I'm providing opportunity to the seller. And what's unique with us as a traditional real estate brokerage is that we should be offering more than one choice. Most real estate brokerages, probably yours included, offers, hey, here's what we can do. We can sell your house. I don't know when it's going to sell. I don't know what it's going to sell for. I don't know how many interruptions you're going to have. I can't guarantee that buyer is not going to back out at the last minute. You're going to get beat up on inspection. Then the appraiser is going to come through. Then the mother-in-law and father-in-law and the crazy uncle are all going to come through. And by the way, I can't promise that any of this is going to come true, but do you want to sell your house? I mean, isn't that the value proposition of realtors? Is that pitch? I mean, we butter it up, but it's that pitch. And we found that consumers are craving certainty. Zillow did a study on the 2 biggest pain points of a seller. Number 3 was price. Number 1 and number 2 are uncertainty and interruptions. Those are the biggest pain points that sellers have. And they say that selling a home is oftentimes more stressful than losing your job or getting married or anything like that. Selling a home is more stressful. And so we created 2.5 years ago our Snap Offer platform. And there's nothing unique about it. There's lots of people in lots of markets that are doing it. But we offer consumers, hey, do you want to roll the dice as we were just talking about, or do you want a guaranteed offer from Erik? Erik will buy your house. You pick the closing date. You don't have to fix anything. You don't have to pre-pack. You don't have to clean. Like, we're just going to come through and take it as is. And sure enough, I'm buying 25 or 30 houses a year from that. Now, occasionally, Mike, I'll hang on to some of those. If it's a perfect rental property, I'll hang on to it. What I'm doing for most of them is I'm doing fix and flip. And here's my math on it. I'm going to use very simple round numbers. I think that if I buy a property for $100,000, I should be able to turn around and sell that for 130 or 140 without any fix-ups. Let's say you come to me and you have a $200,000 property. I'm going to offer you 70 cents on the dollar. I'm going to say I'm going to offer you 140 on this. You're going to do the math and say, does this work? Does this not work? I don't know. If somebody says yes to it, well, I'm going to pay commissions to my company because I'm an investor. It's a separate company. I'm going to pay commissions to my company when I buy it. I, of course, pay commissions when I sell it. So my brokerage gets 2 wins right there. And then me as an investor, my goal from the time in which I close on the house until the time in which I close on the house again, I want to be in and out in 120 days, 4 months. And with that 4-month period, Mike, I believe that I can make 12 to 15% on my return in 120 days. So if I buy that place for $140,000, I think with confidence, I can make $18,000 to $25,000 on that place. I just sold a house today that I paid a total of, I think, $140,000 for, turned around and sold it, got it sold in a week. It'll close in 30 days. And I'm going to make $29,000 on a $140,000 investment like that. Okay. Now this is a gamble though, because I have other stories where I lost 50 grand on a deal.
Right.
I have my rentals set and I have my rentals figured out, but chasing after these fix and flips, I think in 120 days, I can make 12 to 15% on average for each deal. Do that 3 times in a year with the same money, 360 days, and I can make a 36 to 45% return on my money. That's crazy money, Mike, to be able to make a 36 to 45% return on your money. So if I did the math on this, if I take an original $10,000 investment today, the January 2021, I make a $10,000 investment and I just keep recycling it 3 times a year with the rental properties. I don't have to add another dime to it. I can just recycle it on these flips. I said rental properties, I meant flips. In less than 15 years, that $10,000 is $1 million. The beauty of all this is I put in about $400,000. And so how fast is that going to compound and earn more and more and more in my ecosystem? And then I'm paying my company a lot of commissions, right? And then I'm providing inventory for the buyers that can't seem to find what they're looking for. And it's so ripe with opportunity. And I've loved every second of it. And we're teaching and training people around the country on how to do it as well. In fact, that's how we first rubbed elbows, is with that.
Yeah. I think that's what I love about, as we know, realtors and people in real estate like to chase shiny pennies, right? And the beauty of what you're building, just it aligns. And so, when we talk about diversification, like not only are you diversifying your real estate assets, but because you have this vertical integration, when you win on a fix and flip, you're also winning as a broker. And there's agents that are working that too. So the agents are happy, you're providing more business because you're not doing all these deals yourself personally as the agent. So agents on your team are making more money. And, it actually reminds me back of, growing up in a small town, they always talked about spend local versus spending your money somewhere else. And they said, that dollar will circulate in our small town 6, 7, or 8 times before it leaves. And so it's like, that dollar turns into $6, $7, $8 when you're, buying locally at the local athletic store versus, buying on Dick's. Now, this was a little bit before the internet really popped off, but
Right.
it's
All has
that
changed now,
concept, right? Like your dollar is staying in the Erik Hatch world, and it's recycling around, which is turning into more and more dollars for other people on your team as well. In addition to you.
We didn't even touch upon all the listing leads that come from now advertising these snap offers and how that continues to grow our ecosystem as well. So you're exactly right. There are massive opportunities, and so much so I've now opened up 3 months ago, I opened up Hatch Handyman. Okay. Another company that services now and does all my flips, and then they're catering to our past clients, and they're helping with inspection addendums and things that are getting flagged there, and they're helping people to grow. I can't find enough employees for it. I think I have 6 right now, and I need 16 more because we've now created again. I think Hatch Realty is a marketing and servicing company. And we can add as many legs to this stool as we see humanly fit. Now, Mike, the other piece that I want to touch on that I think is opportunistic for people is the Airbnb model or the VRBO model.
Yep.
I started this by happenstance, and I started this. I have a couple downtown condos in Fargo that I have been doing with it, and it was fine because downtown is a hub for entertainment and people traveling and that sort. But I own a 10-plex next to NDSU's campus, and I had such a hard time getting great tenants. And then COVID hit, and all of a sudden those people bailed, and I'm like, oh man, this is going to be really rough. I had in a 10-plex, I had 40% occupancy, so I had 6 vacant units. Well, 4 of those units were like dorm rooms, 150 square feet, room for a TV, a bed, a mini fridge, a microwave, and then it had a full bathroom. Like I was renting it out for $375 a month to college kids, right? But now all of a sudden COVID hit, everybody's gone. And now I have these vacant units. I'm like, what am I going to do? How do I get these filled? I can put it at $100 a month, but then what kind of tenants am I going to get in there too? And it was such a struggle. And I'm like, I'm going to try Airbnb. I don't know if it's going to work. People weren't even traveling. And so these 4 units I furnished. If you look at Airbnb, furnishing a bedroom is about $2,000. This was I was $1,000 to furnish each bedroom. It was super inexpensive. Yep. And I'm like, I'm going to throw some money at it to see if I can fix the problem. The first 30 days, I probably had 10 days booked at $30 a day. So after paying my Airbnb manager,
per unit or per total unit. Between the 4 of them.
Per unit. Yeah. Okay. Per unit. I was probably bringing in 300 gross, and then I pay my Airbnb manager 25%. A property manager is different than Airbnb manager because they are so much more hands-on.
Right. Yeah.
And so I wasn't even making, I was netting 225 and I just put in 1,000. I need to be at 375 to have my numbers work. So it was just rough. All of a sudden booked 30 days out of 30 days were 3 of the 4 units. And the other one was like 25 out of 30 days. And I had travel nurses. I had construction workers that were in town and doing business. And those people oftentimes get a per diem. They get a $75 a day. Here's your lodging and whatever it may be. And if they can rent my place for $30 a day and they can keep the other 45, they're going to do that. And so sure enough, we have found what we think is a sweet spot. In fact, we're starting to raise the price up, tick it up. 2 units have become vacant in that 10-plex. And so now I have 6 Airbnbs that I'm running out of there. And what average between $375 and $550 a month for rents, I'm now bringing in a net profit of $800 to $1,000 per unit per month.
Wow.
And I am salivating. I'm doing the same place with my lake place, dude. I just bought a lake place, and I'm going to VRBO it out for half the summer. And in 3 weeks' time, I'll pay for my mortgage for the entire year.
Well, I think the beauty of it is, just not to mitigate, because we're both Midwesterners, and the perception is, not a lot of people like to travel to Midwest. Like, I did an episode with a guy who has Airbnbs in San Diego, and he was talking about how great that opportunity is. Like, here you are in Fargo, keeping the occupancy up on these Airbnbs. That to me, that just shows how much of a need there is out there. And like you said, why spend $100 at a motel when you could spend $30 and pocket the additional money? Like it just makes sense. It's a win for them. Yeah. They're really excited to be in your spot, and you're really excited to rent it out for $30 a night.
Oh, all day, every day. The wear and tear, the housekeeping, that all the housekeeping gets charged to them too. It's a pretty great business venture. It takes a few months to get off the ground. And I will tell you this, there is a Netflix show called Stay Here. And it is, I think it's an 8-part series, and it's all about how to maximize the value for an Airbnb. And it was really helpful because I have a super cool downtown condo that we just renovated, and we watched our bookings about triple because we made it prettier, and we made it where people are going to now take a picture in front of a mural that we did, right? Like we're putting all these awesome touches on there that are changing the way in which consumers find our place. And we're going to compete with the local hotels and do really well.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's great. Now we've obviously spent a lot of time on that stuff. Let's just touch for a little bit on some of the other stuff that you've got. So, we talked about the brokerage, we talked about that growth. You also have a coaching company. What do you want to share about that and how that's grown over the last few years?
So our coaching company has been open just over 5 years, and we started at a really unique spot. I started coaching probably the top 1% of realtors. Is how we got started. Is we understood the team model. We had really great retention and really great success from our agents, and people wanted to learn from us with that. In addition, we had and still have the top ISA, inside sales agents team in the country, and we were doing that on a really high level. And so people wanted to know, how can we convert really well? How can we spend less and make more? And together, my partner Robbie and I have done an intentional build out of Hatch Coaching over the last 5 years. And we now are servicing over 500 realtors throughout the country with different coaching products, training, services, and systems and messaging things. So you can hire me and I'll coach you one-on-one. We have hundreds of training videos that are available for people if they're looking to grow either lead conversion or marketing or build a real estate team, whatever it may be. We, in fact, even have a 49 video series on training and onboarding so that you don't ever have to figure out how to onboard somebody into real estate, which is always a complicated piece. And then we have a whole lot of technologies that we've been building out and partnering with Sierra Interactive. We're soon to release on Follow Up Boss, with Structurally, with Ylopo. And so we're finding these companies that are doing great things, and we're bringing our enhancement, all the work that my ISAs have done for Hatch Realty to run a top real estate team. We're giving that platform to other people at an easy subscription rate. And that has been so much fun to see. We have a guy out of Irvine, California, who's in our network, and obviously big sales prices there, but he said last year he grossed about $350,000, and the only thing he changed this year was he added on our messaging and our systems within Ylopo and Sierra Interactive, and he grew by better lead conversion. He had a gross commission of over $1 million, and that's the only thing that he changed. Added a couple of people that could do that work, and then had that extra touch to it. And so these technologies and systems that are afforded to people are some of the biggest no-brainers in our industry right now.
Awesome. And then on top of that, you wrote a book, right? Anything you want to share about that?
Well, I will always keep it at my desk so I can do a shameless promotion. It's called Play for the Person Next to You. It is all about servant leadership. And so the way in which you can get really successful, I think, and success is not money. Success is wealth. And wealth is a combination of the right culture, the right time in your life, and of course, the right resources, and money is a part of that. And so we're in the pursuance of wealth, and a servant leadership approach for me feels the healthiest way to get there. And so it's my first book. Hopefully it's not my last book. And I won't ever declare myself as an expert in leadership, but I'm a very passionate student who's taken some very big at-bats over the last couple of years.
And how do you find so as you look at your time and you look at, where's the best use of my time? How do you plan out your day? And then let's talk too a little bit about finding and building great people around you, because there's no way that you could build what you're building without having very reliable, solid, amazing people on this journey along with you.
Yeah, the idea of a self-made man is an asinine idea. I am a product of the people that I've invested in, and they've invested in me as well. And so there's a book right now that's been buzzed about a lot. It's called Who Not How. who, not how. And it is really an articulation of what I think is true to my heart. And that is, if you find the right people and if you become the right person, the right leader that people want to be around, everything is incrementally easier. And so for me, as I've grown this ecosystem, I've balanced my time out very, very rigidly. Every 30 minutes of my day is accounted for. My lunch break is accounted for. My drive time is accounted for. And when you look at my calendar from 8 a.m., often 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., every minute is accounted for. I am a stern believer that I just need more discipline in my life and more intentionality with the time that I'm disciplined for. And when that happens, Bill Gates had 24 hours in a day. Beyonce has 24 hours in a day, but somehow they found a lot more success because they've probably been more disciplined with their time and they've been more intentional and intense with the time in which they've been given. So I am a very intense and intentional person with my time, hoping that leads to amazing results. As for the people side of things, I've hired hundreds of people at this point. We follow a regimented 9-step hiring process that is a really deep and thorough process to make sure that we both connect personally and professionally if we're ever going to dance together. I wouldn't get married to somebody after a couple dates or even after a 30-minute conversation, but that's what most people do when they hire is they spend 30 minutes looking at a resume that could easily be falsified, and they ask surface level questions, and then they invite people into their world. And for me, remember, Mike, my background is in ministry. It was, I was immediately drawn to the idea that I could be really popular in ministry, right? Like I worked at a large congregation, 4,000 people, and I was well recognized. I don't know if I was well liked or not, but I was well recognized by a lot of people, and that feeds my high I ego. But it didn't mean that I made a difference whatsoever. And the way in which I changed my mindset was really a discipleship model. Jesus had 12, and I'm not Jesus, so I can't have 12. And so that means I need to have 5 or 6 people that I pour into intently. And I give all my time, all my energy, all my development. I don't chat with them with my phone in my hand, and I'm not connecting with them while I have other distractions. The only person that can interrupt this one-on-one is if my wife calls. I don't care if we're on a podcast or a webinar. If my wife calls, I know that she's more important than you. But otherwise, the person that I'm face-to-face with, that's the most important person. And I turn everything else off and I go 100% all in for the time in which we're allowed. Now, the difference is leadership shows up both in the scheduled that I just talked about, but also in the sporadic. It can't be, if you do just one without the other, you end up having, I think, an interesting imbalance of personal and professional connection. See, I think the foundation of anything is built on personal. And when you have that trust, you can go exceedingly high. I gave a TED talk a few years ago that talks about the importance of trust in an organization and how you can instill more purpose in the relationships that you have when trust is the foundation.
Yeah. I remember I went to a seminar where it was talking about the speed of trust, and it was Stephen Covey, and he was talking about how
it's a great book.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and simple model, and yet when you start to think about it, it's like that can really change because there's no questioning of motives. There's no question, is this person out to screw me over or do this or that? And so when you build that trust, yeah, you can move a heck of a lot faster because there's the politics are gone, the emotions are different because it's built on love and we're growing together versus on kind of this, maybe I'm in, maybe I'm out, I don't know. So I totally agree.
Yeah, the value and the love and the trust comes in the sporadic, not in the scheduled. And so you have to have that too, which means a great leader should always have an open door policy, but not the open door policy most people think of. Most people think of the open door policy to say, Mike, you can come to me anytime you have something. But if I'm your leader, that open door policy is for me to get the hell out of my office to go to you to say, Mike, how you doing, man? I'm here with you. And that makes all the difference. That open door is not for people to come in. It's for me to go out.
No, this is great. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. I addressed here, you've got all these different things that help feed each other. It's very strategic. It's moving in a good direction. It's built around great people. Talk then for just a brief minute about kind of, we the goal of this is to gain financial freedom and time freedom, because it's, there's at some point, Erik, you're not doing this stuff because you have to make money. You're doing it because you love it. And then you're also building great people because it's now allowing you to spend your time however you want to spend your time. Where do you see this continuing to go, and what is what you've built meant to you in terms of financial and time freedom?
I'm putting most of my energy right now into my coaching company. My real estate team has never been healthier. And the reason why is because I know who I need to be in that ecosystem. My role as the CEO is I am the chief marketer and chief vision caster for the company. I am the head coach, and I am a person who leads the leaders. Other than that, I don't do jack squat. I'm Colonel Sanders at this point. I maybe created the recipe, but I'm not in the kitchen anymore. And I've empowered really great people to run that company, and they have really great lives as well. And there's just it's something really special. Investing happens because I built a team for that, and I've built some marketing plans for that. That's all set and taken care of. I'm giving almost all my energy right now to Hatch coaching, both in one-on-one and large trainings, speaking from main stages, all those things that are afforded to me, because my call in this world is to be a chapter in as many books as possible. It's what I'm designed to do. It, in fact, is the intro of my own book, is to say that my desire is to be a chapter in as many books as possible. Because this isn't about accrual of wealth for me. It's about helping other people so that they can have what it is that they're designed to have in life. And when the tide rises, I get to benefit from that also. Zig Ziglar says you can have everything in life you want if you help enough others get what they want. And that's what I've been pursuing of. And sure enough, it's created a lot of opportunity for me. And I'm very clear on the time that's needed for that. My goal and what I'm striving for is to work less in it. Because remember, I said I'm intense and intentional with every 30 minutes of my day. I just want an extra half day a week to go golf. And so that's my goal by the time summer hits, is that I can carve that out as well. And I have no problem being intense with what I do. I have no problem controlling the time in what I do. I know I can say no at any time, but it feels so good to say yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Anything that you want to plug for folks? Obviously, real estate needs, fargo-moorhead, Hatch Realty, Hatch Coaching. What else? What else do you want people to know, or how can they reach out to you?
I think one of the valued things that we can do, and I never want to do a sales pitch. I seriously subscribe to our YouTube channel, the Hatch Coaching YouTube channel. We put on new content there weekly. I'm constantly trying to share the ideas and the visions that I have. We are offering something. Here is a little pitch. We have something called the Hatch Huddle that we're doing every Monday at 10 a.m. Central Time. If you go to hatchcoaching.com, you'll see about it. It's a 45-minute kickoff of training, and think of listening to hopefully a high-level podcast with some actionable things for your own world. And that's what we're doing with it. You choose the topics because we take submissions from other people, and that's the direction that we go. As an example, this last week, we talked in pretty great length of how you can go and get more listings, because we know that that's drying up everywhere. And that's an easy thing. It's $99 a month. It's not going to break the bank, we think, for anybody. And it's a chance for you and your team, or just you, to come and to get a new level of education and opportunity.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for your contribution. I mean, so much great wisdom, and thanks, just Mike. Really love what you're doing and what you're building. So thanks so much for coming on.
It's been a joy.
This is Mike Swenson. Are you looking to get more out of your real estate career? Are you looking for tools and systems and ways to build wealth so that you can have the financial freedom that you desire? I have a vision to create 20 millionaires over the next 20 years, and I want to do that for you. If you're interested in learning more about that program and how I can help you, reach out to me at mike@realfreedom.com. That's MIKE@RELFREEDOM.com. Thanks.